So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CIMA Tshirt Indonesia Leaders Talk, Reimagining and Reforming Business to Succeed in the New Normal. My name is Silvana, and on behalf of CIMA and British Chamber of Commerce Indonesia, we are very pleased to welcome all of you here this afternoon. To ensure the session runs smoothly today, here are some of the guidelines to follow. Participants must mute their microphone to avoid any background noises during the session. You can also turn off your video to lower the bandwidth usage. And if you have questions during the session, feel free to post them in the chat box, and we will go through them during Q&A session later. And for the opening, I would like to call Mr. Chris Wren, the Executive Director of British Chamber of Commerce Indonesia, to deliver the opening remarks.
Well, thank you very much and good afternoon. I'm saying that on the assumption that everybody on this Zoom is in the Asian time zone. If there's anybody that's tuned in from the UK, then it's good morning to you. It's an absolute pleasure for BritCham to be co-hosting this particular webinar. CIMA is a valued member of the Chamber of Commerce, recognized as a global professional qualification, and taking the role now to expand knowledge, to evolve mindset, and boost career opportunities, in particular for C-suites. And I think that this is very, very relevant, that CIMA is moving away from the recognition of technical in terms of its qualifications, and very much moving more towards the critical strategies that CFOs, for example, very much need in this fast changing world that we're in. I think it's very much accepted now that CFOs have a great responsibility to provide strategic support to marketing departments, to sales departments, to the innovative departments within organizations. And CIMA is positioning itself to equip those CFOs with the skills and the agility that they need to be able to respond to the changing environment that decision makers find themselves in. I'm looking forward to learning more about the way, the process that professionals are now being trained and developed as decision makers. And with that, with this Zoom, which is reimagining and reforming business to succeed in the new normal. New normal, we were just debating what is the new normal before we came on. And that new normal might change again. But for now, let's deal with what we know as our new normal. And I hand back to the CIMA team. And once again, BritCham is very proud to partner to lend itself in support of human capital development, in particular in Indonesia and the wider ASEAN and indeed the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we will have Bapak Dwi Putra Widianto, the Country Manager of CIMA Indonesia, to deliver a brief information of CIMA.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So before I explain a bit about who are CIMA, and maybe some of you may be wondering who are we. So let me play a short video for you just to introduce what is CIMA in a short video.
How would you like to describe your role in an organization? As a finance professional, an analyst, a strategist, a risk manager? As a CIMA member and a CGMA designation holder, you will be carrying out all of these roles. The CIMA qualification prepares you for a career in business and finance and equips you to be an impact maker. By combining financial and management accounting and incorporating digitalization and technological skills throughout, the CIMA qualification will give you a holistic view of the business. You'll gather information on revenue, cash flow, and outstanding debts, and evaluate them in the context of your company's internal and external ecosystem. By analysing financial and non-financial data, you will notice patterns, foresee risks, spot opportunities, inform and assist decisions that add value. In short, your work will play a critical role in day-to-day management, corporate strategy, and organisational growth. The skills and competencies you develop will add versatility and flexibility to your professional profile and will position you for a role in a variety of industries and functions, not just in finance. That's because the CIMA qualification is built on the updated CGMA competency framework. Along with the technical, business, people and leadership skills, it now includes digital skills as a core competency to equip you for the digital future in which businesses will operate. What that means is you will be equipped with the knowledge to collect and prepare information for various stakeholders, analyze data from a holistic business perspective to turn it into insights and strategies, communicate effectively to influence decisions, and lead your peers, the finance function, and the organization through disruption, transformation, and digitalization. You can start studying with CIMA regardless of your previous education or work experience. If you don't have a relevant business degree, you may start with the CIMA Certificate in Business Accounting. Once you pass the 4 exams at this level, you can proceed to the CIMA Professional Qualification. The professional qualification consists of 3 levels: operational, management, and strategic. Each level consists of 3 objective tests and a case study exam. The diploma and advanced diploma in management accounting that you receive at the end of the operational and management levels mark your success within the qualification. Being successful in the strategic case study caps off the CIMA professional qualification. Once you provide 3 years of relevant practical experience, you'll be awarded the CIMA membership at an associate level, the ACMA, or as a fellow member, FCMA, along with the CGMA designation. CIMA offers exemptions and pathways to fast-track you through the qualification if you have relevant qualification or work experience. If you're studying to be or are a Bachelor in Business Studies, you may start at the operational level. If you're studying to be or are a Bachelor in Accounting or Finance, you may be eligible to start at the management level. If you hold an MBA with a specialization in accounting or a Master's in Accounting, you can take the Master's Gateway route and start directly at the Management Case Study exam. For updates on our exemptions, refer to our exemption search database on cimaglobal.com.
Okay, thank you for listening for the video of what is CIMA. So what I'm going to share with you now is who are we? Who is Chartered Institute of Management Accountant? So I believe some of you may have heard about us or may haven't heard about us. So we are the professional qualification body that focusing in management accounting, founded in 1919, and we are the world's leading and largest professional body of management accountants. We also help individuals and businesses to succeed by harnessing the full power of management accounting, not just accounting for the balance sheet, but also accounting for businesses. And the most important thing is, together with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, or AICPA, we established the Chartered Global Management Accountants, CGMA designation in 2012 to provide members with a new level of resources and recognition. Back in 2017, members of CIMA and AICPA, the world's largest member association representing CPA in the US, formed the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants to unite and strengthen the accounting profession globally. So we are representing more than 600,000 members and students across 192 countries and territories, and also we have more than 30 representative offices around the world. We have 2 global designation, ACMA and CGMA, and back in March 2019, it's our marks as 100th birthday of our presence in the world. We are our partners in industry. I believe you may aware some of the names and the brand which we are working with them globally. And again, when we're talking about CIMA, we're talking about what we believe in finance with the finance leaders. As a finance leaders, we believe that they must able to integrate, apply, and communicate, and also doing these things within that 5 skills. But also as a finance teams, we also need they need to demonstrate their commercial acumen and analytical capabilities, developing their deeper technology skills, and also drive conversation, challenge business decision, and make connection that otherwise would be missed. So as the finance organization, they needs to increase the effort to spend on insight generating activities that will resonate across the organization. So with this CGMA, I believe on the video it's mentioned about the CGMA competency framework. So the CGMA competency framework reflects the finding which showing how finance professionals are expected to apply accounting and financial skill within the context of business or organizations in which they operate. It also reflects for the first time how technology and a digital mindset will be required to affect and influence their own decisions, action, and behavior and those of their colleagues with the wider organization. So how then we stay relevant and keep building your skills and competencies to keep up? Again, we have what's of a revolution program so-called as a global C-suite business and finance program. This is a program that will help you to stay at the cutting edge of your profession. It will complement your experience and put you on a fast track to gaining the global trusted and highly valued CGMA designation. What makes this special? So the most important thing and what makes this program very special because this gives you a very unique roots that you only need to take the strategic case study exam of the CIMA qualification, and upon the completion of the exam, it will allow you to direct entry to the CIMA membership and get the award of this Chartered Global Management Accountants, meaning you get a waive of the total 15 exam and you have a golden ticket just to go straight to the final exam. This is open to all C-suite executives or senior management who have at least 8 years of relevant working experience in finance or business functions. And the candidate should be working inside Indonesian territory. So why global C-suite business and finance program? Definitely, it will build the confidence to lead an agile finance function that is fit for purpose in the digital age, because we are putting the digital skills into the framework. Be a strong leader with a broader skill set to influence, inspire. Possess the tools to become a strategic business partner with a good decision-making skill to create value. Sharpen your skill in providing relevant insight for your organization to stay future-focused. And last but not least, you need networking to network with peers around the world, and definitely making you having a global recognition that works across the globe. So that's a bit short story about CIMA. We are happy to have Venkat Ramanan, our regional vice president for the Association of Certified from the Chartered Institute of Management Accountant. I'm more than happy to have our regional vice president to come and share with you about the topic that is very, I believe, very unique one, talking about the normal. Without further ado, I'll give it back to our MC to deliver the short bio of Venkat. Thank you.
Thank you, Padwi. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome the speaker for today, Venkat Ramanan, FCMA, CGMA. Venkat Ramanan is currently the Regional Vice President for Asia Pacific Management Accountant International of the Association of International Certified Professional Accountant, or the Association. The Association combines the strength of the American Institute of CPA, or AICPA, and the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, or CIMA. Venkat takes the lead for the association's vision, strategy, and growth for the Asia Pacific region covering Southeast Asia, Australasia, India, and the MESANA countries. Venkat is a Chartered Global Management Accountant or CGMA by profession and a fellow member of CIMA. Besides receiving an executive education from INSEAD, he is also a Master NLP and a certified performance coach. Venkat, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Silvana. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mbak Silvana, for that introduction, and Chris and Dewey for the previous introductions around that as well. What a pertinent topic that we are at. We thought we were going into a new norm last year in the way we lived our life and world, and we are redefining what that new norm is. And through that process, we are also trying to understand what are the business models, the changes, the function of finance, the talent, and how do we keep ourselves innovating if we are to keep relevant and moving forward. So Selamat Sore and good afternoon for everyone in Jakarta. And let's start off with the most important question. Last year, when you asked CEOs in 2020 what kept them up at night, it was a very straightforward answer that wouldn't have been a surprise to any one of you. It is to do with attracting and retaining talent. It is to do with creating new business models due to tech. And this is the important point, creating new business models due to technology, not enhancing, not driving it, but creating. They were looking for a culture of more innovation and building new level of people. So investment in terms of resources, in terms of people development, enhancing their knowledge, their skills was something that was considered very, very strong. And something that consistently an organization would do was to reduce cost. That's not a surprise. None of these external challenges that I've shared with you are new to you either, that existed when January 2020 was there. So we were going through Donald Trump's presidency. We were going through different trade embargoes that affected different parts of the world, including China, North America, and ASEAN with the Silk Road in China. How would that affect? We looked at competition in different views, who's going to come into our landscape. Political instability was something common. And of course, the tight labor market. Now, when this same question was changed in 2021, January, a year later, global CEOs found dramatic changes, nearly 70% to the internal and external changes. Only 3 of the top challenges in 2020 remained a top priority. That is reducing costs, looking after the recession, and the political stability. And the external challenges, of course, dealt in terms of recession. There was no change in that, and political instability, no change in that. We're wondering about COVID-19, all conversations around that, vaccines and its availability. How will they become available? When will they become available, if at all? And of course, the changing consumer behavior. I mean, I now would not think of going to a shopping mall to buy anything. I didn't think of myself in the past 12 months to buy anything online. Either it's a digital product or technology product. Now, what do? Predominantly buy online. And if you ask me to go to a mall, I'll have to think 15 times over. How do I spend that time working with my friends and family, the time that I've lost, and how can I gain new time? So think about the changes that kept up. Now, here is the other aspect that I want us to focus on. Now, this was January 2021, and just a few months later, what had the priority shifted to? What we're hearing now, priorities have changed again. The pace of change is happening ever faster than before. So accelerating digital transformation remained core. There's no question about that. Accelerating digital transformation remained core. There was no change around that. That still is priority. Accelerate. Every CFO and CEO, when we spoke to them, spoke about only one thing. If you have digital assets, deploy it now. If you don't have digital assets, don't try to create one. Innovate, combine with other organizations, and bring it and expand it into the market. But what's existing now in people's mind and CEOs is, how do we create a hybrid structure? I know some of you might struggle to work from home, and you would prefer to have community, contact, mentorship, and physical engagement in terms of building. relationships. I was speaking to a Big Four partner, managing partner in KL last week, and he was predominantly saying, he asked me a question which I didn't expect. We were catching up on other matters. He said, Venkata, how are you coping with work from home? I said, it's not that I have to cope, it's that I have adapted myself to end up liking it, because I can't dislike it because of the teams and the people that I work with, and I need to connect with them. He said, I'm struggling. I asked him why. He said, my relationships were based on the fact that I had physical meeting. I could judge how they feel, how they look, including my teams and my customers and my suppliers, and I can't do any at the moment. And if the government, if at all, brings a change in terms of the working structure, he would believe that it'll be a hybrid, but a stronger hybrid towards more working from office rather than working from home. You speak to the younger generation, they're questioning when they're joining an organization, do you enable higher working from home structure rather than working from office? Because all the time that was lost in terms of traffic, all the times that were lost in terms of continued meetings in office, watching politics takes place with different people and personality, all have been removed for them to a context. They want to define when they will want to have an interaction with people. And risk management and mitigation is considerably changing as well. Risk in an accountant's angle, and Chris was mentioning earlier when you talk about CIMA or any finance professional, we bring our deep technical understanding, and that has changed as well. But finance leaders are always critical about risk in the way, are we enabling the business to grow? Are we bringing mitigations for the business to stop? Now, if you talk to key economists around the region, they say government has to spend money, whatever it has, to sustain and get the economy going and GDP going now, instead of worrying about keeping the money and keeping the money for the future. Because if we don't spend now, we can't survive for the future. So risk and risk mitigation is being looked at a different agenda than anything else. And determining an organizational design and structure, how did we work in an office-based structure versus a hybrid structure? How do we enable new strategies, new views, use innovation, develop people? Succession planning was key for all organizations. So you will elevate somebody from the previous role to your role rather than bring in an external hire for obvious reasons. Not only the knowledge and the experience and the learning curve, but also the people understand that culture. So now they're starting to think about what is the connectivity we can have, because we don't estimate in the future to return back to office 5 days of the week. And that is in existence. Of course, the external challenges, with the vaccines, we see that. All governments are trying to reassure people. And some of you all know, every government that you hear at points will come with 5-point plan. They will change it to a 6-point plan. They will call it one name the other time, another name the other time, because they struggling to bring vaccination and create herd immunity faster than ever. But the critical issue here is around supply chain. Some governments even say we have paid for the vaccines, by the way. It's not our fault. We're waiting for the suppliers. Supply chain. Think about the supply chain access and distribution from your end. How will that change in the worlds to come? And of course, something that's completely predictable that might happen in the future is inflation, which we are all preparing for. Now, why does this all matter in terms of the strategy and development of the new norm? Now, all of you in the call are very senior people. I have seen the kind of roles that you play. Human beings by nature do not like to have uncertainties. Some of us thrive in uncertainties because we feel it's fueled. Most would say, I would like to know whether it's going to rain or not when I leave home. However much the weather channel says they don't trust it. So the risk mitigation is to bring an umbrella or travel by car or find a safe place to be in. Now, if you ask any business leader, how much of certainty do you have over the business? They say we don't. The only thing that we depend upon is the analysis, the presentation of that analysis for us to be able to predict what the future might hold and have different multiple scenarios that if it does, we know how to pivot and change. A CEO doesn't have a structure in his time of work. A disaster or a damage can happen at any given time, and he needs to be able to respond at that time. But at the top, that's why it sometimes becomes a lonely position, because your view of the model of the world is not the same view as the model of the world those below in the organization. And finance function has come under heavy criticism for not being able to understand the model of the world in which you live in. Now, what is that model of the world that you live in? You have issues around geographical shifts and globalization, so geopolitical shifts and globalization. So geopolitics is something that has become a norm now. Globalization is changing the way we think in terms of our business models. Financial challenges worldwide are not a norm. Not an exception. It's a norm and will continue to be a norm. Workforce challenges. We were thinking about like cities like Mumbai, where 30 million people will live in 2030. 30 million people will live in 2030. You must be laughing at me at that figure saying, do you know how many people live in Jakarta? And in that workforce challenges is also the generational challenges from Gen Z to Gen X to the baby boomers in the way they think and drive things. They're not the same. Then we have regulatory complexity. Regulations keep changing all the time. There's a big debate around Gojek and Grab at the moment in terms of their possible merger, or Gojek merging with someone else, and how will the regulators conceive and perceive monopoly and the things around that. And with technology changing, how will regulators change? Because regulators don't change with technology. FinTech was a brilliant evolution on technology because FinTech's objective was to support the 3.5 billion people who were underbanked, and regulations couldn't keep up with FinTech. And now regulations are trying to take over by creating sandboxes, allowing and enabling innovation and issuing licenses for non-banking institutions to come in and play at that field. And of course, technology and cyber issues. And I do not want to spend time in cybersecurity because you do remember what took place last week or earlier this week in terms of the US, in terms of the cybersecurity attack. The people who did it asking for 70 million to unlock the computers. And of course, chaotic is factors like the black swan events, COVID will take place once in a while, and we got to figure out, that's the world you live in. And if you don't live in that world, you will live in that world soon. Ask yourself the question, where are you and where are your teams in this world? As you deal with chaotic, complex issues, if your team is in a rational world, they build policies, structures, systems for certainty rather than being able to cope with uncertainty, you are left alone. Your business model is at risk. Your customers may be able to switch over to another organization because they understand what they need. Suppliers may find you not relevant anymore. So as we act in the age of chaos, our questions about the business strategy, the model, needs to be answered and changed. Now, what made the difference between thriving and surviving? In terms of our concerns, we look at businesses needed to constantly reevaluate their priorities. And they have to, by reevaluating their priorities, they have to keep up with change. Leadership became an important aspect in terms of driving from surviving to thriving, because leadership is no more looked at as in terms of getting us through the tough times of survival, but during the tough times of that existed, how do we drive opportunities? Where do we go? Employees also became critical because these are the companies that outperformed all of the peers because they decided not to survive, they decided to thrive, take the risk. Looked at their existing technology infrastructure, looked at how they are to innovate. If you don't have the capability to develop technology infrastructure, innovate with someone else who has it, enter into partnerships. Cybersecurity, sense of purpose and mission. Most younger generation employees now want to understand the purpose of what a company is about to do. Last time in an interview, when you had with anyone, when was the last time somebody asked, can you explain to me what your purpose is? They might ask, what's your vision and mission? Because that's a standard question of interpretation. But think about the fact, when did they ask you, what's your purpose? And if you look at ESG models in which companies are now building a wider framework, it is to address those concerns that the organization's sole objective doesn't remain profit maximization, but addressing, importantly, the social governance and other issues that are centered around the community and stakeholders, because it's important. And critical to this is innovation. Let me go a bit further. Innovation has become key more than ever, because if you look at technology adoption, now we call adoption in terms of many methods, right? So the people who have the haves usually are the first to acquire a pieces of technology, whether it's a brand new iPhone or a brand new iPad or a Lexus, or a Tesla car, because they have the means to do that. Then everybody follow the method of adoption later. That doesn't straightforwardly apply in an organization's concept. And here's why. Ask yourself, what are you surrounded in terms of your limitations to make decisions? Look across your board. Very often, does your board understand the impact of technology? The hard part is most boards consist of people who are tech averse rather than tech driven. And when decisions are put across, including return on investments on technology pieces, most boards will say, that's a lot of money. Is it worth taking the risk? Can you come back with an ROI? Can you look at what the others have done? And between that and another board meeting taking place is nearly 3 months. And I don't need to tell you what happens during those 3 months. Unstructured organizations, including individuals who create solutions from back of their garages, are able to attract new customers because they're able to bring in technology far greater than anything else. Blockchain, AI, machine learning are some of the examples in how those were done. And fintech is another example in which smaller organizations managed to outbid banks because they understood the impact of technology. Now, COVID is slightly changing that. And this is where you as leaders have to drive the point to your boards and your senior leaders that the acceleration and the adoption curve has to be faster than ever. And it's just not about survive. The important thing about is adapting and thriving. And if that decision is not made, can your organization withstand and survive the next 5, let alone 10 years? Now, we can understand examples of AI and its impact. Now, my mother is immunocompromised to an extent that she cannot take all the medicines that are given to her. She has allergy reactions, so much so that when she had to take her COVID jab, which was Sinopharm, she had to be in a hospital, not anywhere else, in an emergency room with a doctor, with a bed next to her. So if there's an immediate response to it, at least the doctors and the team can attend to her. Now, there are a lot of people with medical issues in terms of allergies and other things. AI is being used to correct those in terms of understanding each one's DNA module and the composition of their genome in terms of creating new medication faster that attracts this. I don't need to talk about driverless cars. Of course, if you look at cities like Kuala Lumpur and in Delhi and Mumbai and even Jakarta, somebody will laugh and say, "You're joking. Have you seen how the traffic goes? Driverless cars won't work here." It might not, but might work differently. What would that be? Virtual assistants, we have Siri, we have Alexa, we give notes to them. Alexa, send me a reminder at 3 o'clock. Siri, set up my alarm at 2 o'clock. This is from a basic module. In US, Alexa is being used in terms of ordering your grocery supplies at a time when you need, update, remove. But look at an organization in which it can understand human learning and convert that human learning to support business decisions through the use of AI and technology. And finally, implantables. People with severe depression and other conditions like that has affected people over a period of time, they're looking at installing implantables in terms of correcting those behaviors through technology so that they don't need to face those. Now, why am I sharing with this? These are things like, especially the 1, 3, and 4 would have never been thought as possible through technology. Now, from a finance function, what does it mean? Now, most of us are stuck with forecasting and reforecasting. And during COVID time, that's where we spend most of our time, reforecasting this. We were trying to understand what would be our expenses, what would be our cash flows, what would be our expected sales at times. And even our teams got sick based on the amount of Excel sheets we would send them in terms of reforecasting and providing it back. Now, think about a Fortune 500 tech company in the US that used to use 2,200 man days to calculate a forecasting pattern. That's 22 people using 100 working days. And the error rate in terms of their forecasting was 5% off. Now, for a billion dollar company, 5% is material. They employed, over a period of time, machine learning with artificial intelligence, brought the error rate to 2.5%. And just imagine the 2.5% saving by being the error off. And they were able to do it in 4 man days. And they want to get to a point at which they want to report only 0.05% off on forecasting within 1 day. We see digital solutions for auditing that are existing. We're seeing digital solutions for bots where they can predict the tax rate in terms of transfer pricing from one city to another city or one state to another state, giving the optimum transfer pricing scenarios to organizations to make decisions. So technology will impact no matter what, whether it's in business or people's lives. And we all have to understand as leaders, and this is where the rest of the organization has to understand, because if you don't have an alignment, there's going to be maximum trouble. We deal with 4 important stakeholders, and that can grow, by the way. The boards, because they're very clear, they want maximum return with minimum risk. Kind of a contradictory statement. Sometimes when you say I want maximum wealth but at minimum risk, it's kind of it's possible and impossible at times, but that's why they're there. The board challenges you to drive that. Customers and vendors only want one thing. They want lower transaction costs. Nobody willingly goes and pays double for an iPhone that is sold, or a BlackBerry, or that doesn't exist, or an Android phone, or a car. Nobody goes and spends more. There are people's eligibility, but that's based on niche. Business leaders, they want strategy, they want information, they want influence, they want insights, they want it now so that they can make a decision. We hear the word data-driven quite a lot. Data-driven is dangerous by itself. What does data-driven mean? I'm giving you the data, but without insights, without adding body to the data, we cannot make decisions. CEOs and CFOs and finance directors all over the world need that. And the last one is investment. The investors keep looking at in terms of a predictable growth that can be sustainable, and they keep looking at the different models around it. So the pandemic's wider impact that we feel in terms of the next generation, nearly 54% of young people have a bleak outlook in terms of their career prospects. Now, let me start off with my daughter's journey, as much as every one of you all have children. My daughter uses the strong word. She says she hates virtual school. I never heard her say the word hate before, but she says she hates virtual school. She likes physical presence, she likes interaction, she likes everything else. And virtual school, I lose my voice along with my wife trying to tell her, go back to your class, be focused, go back to your class. She's kind of evaluating, can I take a break? Do I need to go back to virtual class? Can I take a break for 6 months? University, college, and degree students are talking about a gap year now, while in university and college, not when they complete it. And this will impact in terms of not just recruitment, but who will our customers be in the future and what will they want? How will our suppliers be enabled to support us better? Think about that. McKinsey spoke about disruption. There are interestingly 5 different scenarios which they showed how disruption must work and can work. And disruption is always dangerous, but the point in which they say is it's happening faster than ever. Now look at that curve in terms of a market share. And there's a diagram that shows there's a point at which a tipping point is, right? A market share is here, an incumbent business model. If you don't do anything at the tipping point, you're going to go to 0. And of course, a company that had no market share starts off, goes fast because they had digital acceleration of a new business model. The incumbent's business model might be threatened, but they can move from a mighty holding of a market share. Market share was the only sole criteria in which most companies said we had 90% of the market share, 80% of the market share. But through technology and disruption, while the others take your market share, you can decide to be in a niche environment, securing your return on investments for your stakeholders as term as long-term sustainable value. Think about it. Digital competition, of course, shrinks value. Customers want things at a low cost. Ride-sharing services, of course, brought down the cost of taxis by 40%. Yes, you may say that when they introduce ride-sharing, they reduce the prices to gain the market share before they increase it. But then another competitor comes, they react. Either they merge, they take over, or react. Grab was working with the National University of Singapore to develop what they call new city model. And the new city model is to look at AI and look at driving patterns, traffic patterns, behavior patterns of individual. Your phone knows where you have been, by the way, because you allow location services. They know you left home. Some days when I leave home before pandemic, Google comes and tells me it'll be 14 minutes to your office. And I go, how do you know that I'm moving? I thought this is freaky. But with the smart city concept, Grab and NUS, what they're trying to do is to be able to study all those factors, lead to lower cost for transportation and saving of time for individuals, so that in the morning, they can message you and say, leave between 7:10 and 7:30 instead of 8:40, you will save 20 minutes in traffic. And as a result, you will save X percentage in terms of your driving cost. And you know in Jakarta how important it is with the traffic that you hold. So when we live with digitization and driving a new business model, customers always win, companies always lose if they don't have a new value proposition and they become obsolete very, very quickly. The point at which here is I bought a Garmin GPS in the past. I had a digital camera when I went on an exploration. Now I only use my mobile phone for both. Think about the business models that will translate even further. Growth rates will have to plummet. It will plummet. The standard growth rates that you had, and if anybody's predicting and providing you a 5-year plan, make sure you tear it and throw it away. That's not going to exist. There'll be a rolling 2 to 3 year plan based on the levels of innovation and digitization that you can bring in partnership. And that kind of a scope will allow you to be bold and grow, or to have some level of growth. Otherwise, you can just wind up yourself as an organization. And finally, the payoffs are high for those who move early and move boldly. Structured summaries by McKinsey say the new sectors, if they compete in new digital ways, will have much as 12% return on investment. And if existing companies do invest in technology now with digitization, they'll get a 6% ROI. And you are not operating in isolation. You've got to think of an ecosystem hereafter. Your platforms, your networks, and aggregators. If you try to survive and thrive on your own, you won't. Grab and Gojek were the best examples in terms of that. Grab's play is not just to become a transportation hub, but a financial system in which it can support its customers and suppliers in payments. That's where they're going towards, because they're building a complete ecosystem around that. If you don't, you're not in part of anyone's system. And finally, companies need to change where and how they play by creating their own network or partnering companies beyond the industry and borders. You can't be alone in the new world. Your business model needs to either have a network or innovation with someone else in order to step up and grow, specifically when you don't have the technology capabilities. And this is critical. Chris, you mentioned about deep technical skills. Anyone with deep technical skills is great. My mother, I love my mother to bits. She hates to go to a doctor who's a brilliant person who can perform the brilliant surgery or who can cure you for anything if he or she does not have bedside manners. That means when my mother goes to a doctor, sits in front of him, she wants the doctor to say, "Hi, how are you? Can you explain your symptoms?" And then explain what medicine will do to what. She went to a doctor with me once. It was not a good experience. She sat there, she explained what was wrong. He said, "Okay, take this and go." And prescription was written in a handwritten document, which could not be read even clearly. And she said, "Okay, I'm immunocompromised. Can you tell me what this will do?" He says, "You're not the doctor, I'm the doctor. I'm telling you this will work, take it and go." She just walked off huff and puff. Now look at your teams. You're alone. You may be alone in that very complex and chaotic world that you drive in, but look at your teams. If they have very deep technical skills, but do not have people skills, business skills, leadership skills, and digital skills, no matter what you say and drive to create a new business model, you will always be alone. So think about the kind of resources that we need to drive in. And we call it the T-shaped professional, especially for finance. Yes, deep sense of technical skills are good, which would have got you recruited 3-4 years ago, but not anymore. This is something called critical thinking. Can you think of something and provide us a solution by not looking at it as it is, but looking at it differently? So business skills are important anymore. You need to understand macro and micro environment. You need to understand people, collaborate, negotiate, communicate, be insightful, be their business partner, bring in the leadership skills to drive, to explain about the changes as the business transform. And importantly, these 3 things will remain constant. The 4th one will remain as a variable because it's not around the topic of digital skills, but what about digital skills will change. Now, digital skills doesn't mean you need to go code Python tomorrow. I attended the Oxford University FinTech program. I'm not in the banking sector, but I wanted to go and attend the FinTech executive program for the simple reason I wanted to understand in a different business or a model, how will technology change? And that has given me great insights that I can have conversations and share. And every part of my learning now will not be in coding, but the impact of technology, its opportunities, and how it can be integrated into organizations. Ask yourself, are you in this T standing as a technical, solid person who understands deep technical skills, or you have the width? If you don't have the width, figure out what you need to do. Same way, look at your teams. Are they T-shaped professionals? If they're not, you have to figure out what they need to do. Padwi explained our qualification focuses mainly on these 4 skills with the digital skills embedded in it, because we need a well-rounded management accountants who can actually inspire and help organization run. And the definition of a management accountant, he or she is a co-pilot to the pilot in a plane. The same way, the pilot is the CEO, the co-pilot is the finance leader, sits next to the CEO. So when the CEO wants to go to a direction, the co-pilot supports the CEO in that decision-making process entirely, because the multitude of skills that exist. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. In extraordinary times of disruption, we have to adapt and thrive. And adapt and thrive is just not about survival. When COVID hit, it's all about cash management, cash flows, and survival. Yes, we knew. And if that conversation is going to take amongst the boards as well as the senior leadership team in time to come, we got to worry. We got to build on our success profile with a new confidence and courage. And you got to ask yourself, are we ready? Can we adapt and learn? And can we continue to thrive? All the propositions shared to you are based on experience, examples, and history that is created. Now it is your journey to take it forward. Thank you, Chris, for the time allocated from BridgeCham. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Terima kasih.
Thanks, Venkat. Thank you. We will enter the Q&A session. All the participants, we welcome all of you to put your questions in the chat box and we will go through them. Okay. I have
Silvana, I need your help
Yes.
in terms of deciphering the questions, because for some strange reason, I'm operating without my spectacles, because in my home, I can't find it. I need to check with my daughter.
I will read it for you, don't
Thank
worry. Okay, I have received one question from Brion. He asked about how far CIMA can adopt data science to accelerate digital transformation in management accounting.
Okay, so the way we are looking at it is, it's a very important question, Brian, because our qualification, a degree doesn't change itself. It's like a cycle that they keep patching up over X number of years. They don't transform as much. Well, I have to be critical and criticize ourselves, because neither did we. We changed our syllabus every 4 to 5 years. In terms of technology, its adoption, its changes to relevance as a profession. We now have implemented something called a finance leadership program, where our entire syllabus is delivered through a digital platform of learning. And by the way, Padui shared about the number of exams. 9 of those assessments, you don't need to sit externally. You can do it in the platform as and when you learn. So you don't need to go to a center. Now, why is that important? We understand changes have to be fast, and our syllabus has to be evergreen. So in the past, when we change our syllabus every 4 or 5 years, we bring tutors, we bring those who implement the learning journey, share the changes with them, ask them to go back, implement it. Now, all what we do is make the changes in the back of the system and make it forward. So we are looking at things, even models around data analytics, to be embedded into our syllabus. So data sciences, data analytics, and other components of digital strategy have now and can be activated within our syllabus as we move ahead and be evergreen rather than the 4 to 5 year cycle. And from data sciences and digital analytics perspective, what we understand ourselves is at what level do we need to have that, at basic, advanced, or expert level. So we build that each point into our syllabus as well. Now, the unfairness in some of the theory that I just mentioned to you is that the current students will go through the technology manifestation of learning, the existing members not be exposed. So what did we do? We gave something called a digital mindset pack or a digital skills pack for our members, which is £255 every year free of charge, which includes things that affect technology and your profession, like blockchain, AI, RPA. You can learn it for members every year and keep yourself updated. So that's how we attempt to take it on, Silvana.
Thanks, Venkat. Okay, the next question, we have one question from Chiwi. Interesting about the T-shape. Would it be different between people in services, manufacturing, and other industry?
The famous answer for any question in management accounting is depend. It depends. It practically depends in terms of the level of interaction required by each one. So if you're in manufacturing, and this is the part where we drive a kind of a change in people, what we tell people is, they ask us the impact of technology. Does it displace jobs? We say, no, it doesn't displace jobs. It doesn't displace people. It displaces tasks. And in displacing tasks, what people need to have is the ability to unlearn, relearn very fast and acquire the skills and competencies as they move forward. So if your manufacturing team are there and they are involved in manufacturing, ask yourself how much of robotics and technology will take over their role. their task, and how do you retain the knowledge of what they have to help further improve the product? And if they don't have this width in terms of communication and ability to work with people to share their insights, there is a problem. So it is very much dependent, and the T-shape starts with finance, because the biggest criticism that we have faced is there. We sit in the back of the office, we put rules and regulations because we like certainty, and we don't connect. You got to look at each one situation before you make that.
Thanks, Venkat. Now we will open final questions if anyone wants to ask, because it's about closing time as well. If you have questions, you can also ask directly. If yeah, you can unmute your microphone.
Either have done a fantastic job in communicating this, Silvana, or I have done a horrible job where people have no questions. So either way, I'll leave it to people's perspective.
Hey, Venkat, this is Faisal. It's
Hi,
very,
Faisal.
very interesting and insightful presentations or sharing. I'm Faisal from G4S Indonesia.
Yeah, Faisal.
And yeah, it's your presentations is really knocked my head on the importance of doing the digital transformations in a company. I'm sort of thinking about it, but I take it like just a bit of aside. But then really, you really tell me that this is something that I have to look into it myself, driving the process, or I will regret, and then somebody else will have done it. What is and I wake up now. Thanks for that. And what is the focus then on the current situation where a lot of changes, external technology are there, AI are there, blockchains are there. What do you think fair percentage of the time of CEO or managing director of a country have to spend by themselves in order to make sure that he will design the future organizations aligned with it? I know it's a big goal, it's a long-term journey, but what is your thought, your view on that, if you may?
Faisal, that's a very, very important question. Now, in the past, CEOs used to meet up with their boards and their senior leadership teams and define structures and strategies for the next 5 years, 7 years, broadcast it to investors, broadcast it to shareholders, broadcast it to stakeholders. Most instances, CFOs and CEOs will work with consultants to help in terms of understanding, like the McKinseys and the Deloittes of the world. Some of them will get the input from down up. Our impression is that CEOs need to be talking to a lot of people in terms of what's changing. Look at from a customer's perspective, Faisal. I used to go to a mall and buy things. So a mall owner will look at foot space, right? Or a foot traffic in terms of how people are led from one location to a mall to another to enhance the experience. I go digital now. Will I change that? No. I seldom think that I'll go to a mall. My mother used to go buy vegetables and she refuses to order online in the past. She likes to touch the pepper, touch the apple, touch the vegetable, break some of them sometimes, the lady's fingers, and see how fresh it is. Now she keeps sending me messages and says, can you please order for me? Because I'll prefer it this way. And in the future, I think this is far more comfortable as I age. I do not want to go to the market. The point at which I'm trying to arrive at is CEOs need to step out of their own comfort zone and reach out to many customers, investors, partners, other companies, what they're doing, and understand the changes that are taking place. Get people to share how research on other companies have adapted to technology. Who are their competitors? If I tell you Gojek would be a bank's competitor 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you would have laughed. A transportation company? So they need to step out of their comfort zone, speak to different people, understand the concept of technology and its impact. What does competition mean in the future? What is the space of your market? What is your market share? And what importantly is your purpose? You have to become a purpose-driven organization. You got to ask, what am I as an organization trying to do as my purpose? What am I trying to solve? What am I trying to provide? They'll get the answers then. But if they remain insular and keep insisting that their business model will succeed because the past data shows that, good luck to them.
Very valid point. Thanks, Venkat. Thanks so much.
No worries, right.
Thanks, Venkat. We are just right on time to close the session. Unfortunately, we cannot receive more questions. But if all participants, any of participants have questions, obviously you can drop any questions to Bridgechamp team, and they can pass it to us as well. With that, we have to come to the end of this event. Thank you for your time today, and we do apologize if there's any shortcomings. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you in the next event.
Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.